Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Welcome back, adventurers. Today we've got another skill video for you, and we're talking about athletics. That's right, the first and only strength-based skill, and it's going to take a bit longer than the last two skill videos did. Why is that? All of the untrained actions you can use with athletics. Actually, if you've watched my basic actions video, you saw that I didn't include any skill actions in that video. This is why. All of the actions tied to athletics would have really extended out that video. So instead, they're tucked away here, but that's going to make this a long video in its own right. As I mentioned, athletics is the only strength-based skill, which means they packed it all together. And that means that any strength-based character or character build, even if it's not your primary ability score, even if it's your secondary, probably going to be able to make good use of athletics. Let's just jump right in because there's a lot to go through. What are those base actions that athletics can take? And we're going to just do them in order as they show up alphabetically, starting with climb. This is one action, and you have to have both your hands free by default. Again, we'll get into all the feats that can adjust all this. But for now, you need a hand or both hands free with which to climb. While you're climbing, you are off guard, which is already pretty painful. Now, this is only if you don't have a climb speed. So let's say you take an ancestry that gives you any kind of climb speed, even if it's 5-10 feet, doesn't matter. If you have a climb speed, you're not off guard while you climb. Your climb speed on a success is only 5 feet. So you roll an athletics check to see if you succeed at climbing against a standard DC. Great, you get a success. You can move a whole 5 feet up that wall. That's not very exciting. On a crit, 10 feet. Still not great. Failure means you're going nowhere, and crit failure means you're going to fall and land prone. Now, the GM can sway the DC here. Standard DCs for the level are just what's recommended, but a GM will probably make the decision if they want this to be a really painful climb because you are going up some near sheer face and the only handholds are the occasional tree branch sticking out, or if you're going up a ladder. Because yes, you're supposed to climb with this action to go up a ladder. Little too strict for me. As a GM, if there's a ladder or something to climb, they can just climb it. You still need your hands available to you, but you can just climb it. But when we're climbing up the side of a mountain, that's when we're worried about our rolls. Remember, these are untrained actions, so anybody can do these. You just have to use your athletics rolls. Next on the list is force open. Okay, so not everybody's into picking locks. Sometimes you just want to break down the door, or break through the glass, or you get the idea. Anyway, this has the attack trait, and we'll talk about several that do. What does that mean? Well, if you use an action with the attack trait on your turn, because this is one action, it's going to increase your multiple attack penalty. So keep that in mind as we talk about all the other actions here. You have a -2 penalty if you don't have the right tool to use, whatever tool that may be for the situation, kind of GM dependent. On a crit success, you might not even damage. So let's say I want to break into a chest. Well, if I get a success, I might have to smash the lock mechanism to break it open. On a crit success, I might just hit it just right and it'll just unlock on its own and pop open. Fantastic. But either way, I'm using force to get through here. On a critical failure, you're going to jam whatever it is you were trying to open and take a -2 on future attempts. So you really don't want to see that happen. And as I said with the last one, GM will decide the DC, but it'll probably be a standard DC for your level. Next is grapple. And you'll see this a lot, specific builds especially. This is again one action. You must have a hand free, don't need both, and a creature no more than one size larger than you that you can attempt to grapple. So with grapple, you're using one action. You're going to try to grab the creature and give it the grabbed or potentially immobilized condition. So on a success, you will grab the creature, and on a critical success, you will immobilize them. And those are different conditions. I'll have a video about conditions coming out later. But for now, just know that immobilized is much better than grabbed. Your roll goes against the fortitude save from the opponent, but it's their fortitude save DC. So they don't have to roll against your roll. You're rolling and you look at the monster's fortitude save number, say it's +8. Add 10 to that, you have to beat an 18. Your GM may or may not be that upfront with you about it, but that's what you're actually trying to beat. In order to get out of being grabbed, somebody's going to have to do an escape action, which was in my actions video, so feel free to check that out. But if you want to keep somebody grabbed, well, if I grab them on the first turn, great. They try to escape, they fail, okay. Next turn, it's my turn again, and I can not do another grapple check, and then at the end of my turn, they will simply be let go. If I want to keep them grabbed, I need to do another grapple check. And let's say they were immobilized the first time, but I only roll a success this time, they're just grabbed and not immobilized now. So you have to keep it up, kind of like sustaining a spell. Just a little note for you, it is very strong though. Keeping a creature held in place, forcing them to increase their multiple attack penalty while trying to escape you, very powerful tools, which is why grapple builds can be really good in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. High jump. This is 2 actions, and you're going to stride and jump higher in the air. So you can already leap, which is just a standard jump, but in this case, high jump, you want to go further. So there's a DC of 30. This is just flat across the board for a high jump, and on a crit success, you jump 8 feet up or 10 feet out. And on a success, it's 5 feet in both directions. On a crit fail, as usual, something bad happens and you are going to fall prone. Long jump. Long jump is 2 actions again. You're going to stride and try to jump outward. This is a DC 15, which is a lot easier than the high jump we just talked about. In this case, on a success, you're going to jump up to a distance equal to your check value, down to the nearest 5 anyway. And again, on a crit failure, you're going to fall prone. So if you just need to clear gaps, this is a great way to do that, assuming you have a decent athletics, that is. Reposition. 1 action. Yeah, we're still talking untrained here. That's how many there are. You either need a free hand or you have to have the target grabbed or restrained already, and it has to be no more than 1 size larger than you. Reposition is actually new with the remaster, and in this case, you move the target while keeping them near you. So you are actually repositioning them respective to you. This has the attack trait also, so you're going to increase your multiple attack penalty just like you had with grapple, for instance. And you're going to do this against the creature's fortitude DC, just like grapple. And you can move them up to 10 feet. So if they're in front of me, I can move them all the way behind me, which is a nice bonus for where you want to reposition them. This might give great flanking to your allies or completely mess up the opponent's flanking. A lot of value in repositioning. It doesn't sound exciting, but it can change the way the battlefield is set up. On a crit failure, unfortunately, the opponent moves you, and that is a pretty bad crit failure. Falling prone is bad enough, but this is really bad. I didn't talk about the crit failure with grapple, but the same idea. If you crit fail a grapple, they're going to grab you. These turnabout things are really important, so make sure that you're not trying these if you are completely untrained and you're pretty high level. You're likely going to crit fail and it's not going to go well for you. Shove. 1 action again, requires a free hand and a creature no more than 1 size larger than you. We keep getting into this. You're going to push the creature away. No surprise. It has the attack trait, so increasing your multiple attack penalty when you shove them. You're going against their fortitude save DC, just like we talked about with the other ones. You can push them up to 10 feet away, which is really impressive. That's a good distance to push some creatures away, especially creatures that might have some way to interact with you. If they're up close to you, you want to make them waste actions to get back up to you, and you didn't want to step, or this helps push them over an edge. It could knock them off of something high. Shove actions can be really valuable. And, well, of course, it means crit failure has something bad happen. On a crit failure, you're going to fall prone. Still, I think that's better than being repositioned by your enemy or being grabbed by them, but it's not great. All right, and swim. 1 action. This is a lot like climb. In fact, all those lovely restrictions for climb, that's how this works. Again, the GM sets the DC, and it's 5 feet you get to swim on a normal success, 10 feet on a critical success. So, like climbing, it makes swimming kind of painful in the middle of combat, but it can make for some interesting encounters. And our final untrained action, yes, this is very exciting, is trip. That is 1 action, and you're going to try to trip a creature that's no more than 1 size larger than you. Crazy. Once again, you need a hand free. On a success, you're going to trip them. On a critical success, they're going to take damage when they fall. This has the attack trait, just like the other ones we've talked about, so increasing your multiple attack penalty. And you're probably not going to be surprised by this. When you critically fail, you're going to fall prone yourself. Now that we made it through our untrained actions, let's talk about our one and only trained action. And that trained action is disarm. Going to need a hand free, no more than one size larger than you. You're going to try to take a weapon straight out of a creature's hand. It has the attack trait. On a success, you're actually going to slightly offset the weapon, and they won't actually drop it out of their hands on a success. Instead, they have to readjust. They're going to get a reduction to their chance to hit until they readjust their grip. But with a single action, they can readjust their grip. On a critical success, however, you're going to whip that right out of their hands. Now they got to go searching for their weapon. Could be very strong for you. It's maybe not as strong as something like grapple or trip, but it can be very good. If you critically fail, you're now off guard. So that -2 penalty to your AC against incoming attacks might be too much to gamble here, but if they've got a weapon that's really critical to their fighting style, and that's the whole reason they're impressive, it might be worth disarming them. You may have picked this up in our quick overview there of all the actions, but a lot of what you're doing with athletics is actually combat-oriented. There's climb and there's swim, but for the most part, you're trying to affect creatures with your athletics checks. Well, as we get into the feats that are related to athletics, you'll see a lot of boosts to those combat abilities, but there's some nice stuff here for exploration as well. Not so much for the social pillar of play, but even that I think pops up in here a little bit. So let's get into the feats that are related to athletics, starting out with our trained level 1 feats and alphabetical order once again, because we do love that. Armor assist. So you're going to make an athletics roll to cut down the time to don armor in half. And you can help somebody else do the same. The chance of needing to don or doff armor in combat is pretty low, so I don't know that this is the most critical feat for a lot of people, but it could be helpful because donning some armor can take forever. So this could help you if you get woken up in the middle of the night, you really want to get your armor on. Otherwise, probably not the biggest deal. Also, the GM will set the DC of this based on armor rarity. Combat climber, level 1, trained in athletics. You can climb with only one hand free and not off guard while you're climbing. So this is really helpful if you're going to be in a situation where there's a lot of verticality in your game and you think that, oh, my GM's just going to keep doing this. All right, could be useful. This way I can swing my weapon at them with one hand while I climb with the other, and I'm not having my lowered AC. This is really a lot of boosts all at once in a single feat. Hefty hauler, level 1, trained, just increases your bulk limit. Gonna be honest, personally, I don't keep track of bulk limits very carefully in my game. Just kind of feels like overhead rather than something really critical to the game. But if you're in a game where the GM takes this very seriously, it might not be a terrible idea. If you're the high strength character anyway, you might be hauling all of the gear for the crew. Who knows? Quick jump, level 1, trained in athletics. You can high jump or long jump with only one action, because normally it takes 2 to do each of those. No striding as part of it, and you don't need the 10-foot lead up. So normally you need at least 10 feet ahead of you. You have to stride and then jump. Now it's one action. You don't have to stride. You don't need any lead up. You can just leap from where you are. And that can be a big advantage. So this one might actually be worth it. Again, if there's a lot of hazards, this can be great environmentally. So think about it for exploration as well as combat. It really depends on how creative the maps your GM is throwing at you. Titan Wrestler, level 1, trained in athletics. This is a big deal for grapple builds. This will allow you to grapple creatures even larger than you could before. It's not just grapple either. This is trip, disarm, reposition, shove, and this is up to 2 sizes larger than you rather than 1. And if you're legendary in athletics, and if you're going to grapple build, you probably will be, this will be 3 sizes larger. So if you're medium, for instance, at first you could do large, then you could do huge, and now you can do gargantuan. So you want to be able to pull anything to the ground and hold it tight? Titan Wrestler is your go-to. Underwater Marauder. This is also level 1. This is also trained in athletics. In this case, you're not going to be off guard while you're swimming, and certain types of weapon strikes underwater take a penalty, which is slashing and bludgeoning, penalty to attack rolls when you're trying to use them. Piercing's fine in water, the other two aren't. With this feat, nothing takes a penalty. So if you're in a water-heavy campaign, let's say seafaring, or you just happen to be island hopping or something, this is probably going to be a huge deal for you because you might be underwater a lot. And without this, there's a lot of builds that are going to be in a lot of trouble. Time to jump up to level 2 now, and we're going to talk about lead climber. With lead climber, you need experts in athletics along with being level 2. If your team is using follow the leader, which is something they can do during any exploration while you're trying to use skills, you can prevent your teammates from critically failing or failing. And if you succeed, then they will not fail or critically fail. So you can help them climb as you climb. Probably not my go-to still unless you're climbing a lot, but it can be useful if people are tired of falling prone while they're trying to climb up the side of walls. Powerful leap, level 2, expert in athletics. You no longer have to high jump in order to jump up to 5 feet, and you can add 5 feet to the horizontal distance covered by high jumps and long jumps. So if you really want to guarantee success on your jumps, you're doing that a lot because of map design or whatever, this is great for exploration. This is good for combat, can be useful in a lot of ways. So suggest it if you've got those situations coming up. Rapid mantle, level 2, expert in athletics. You can use athletics rather than reflex to grab an edge. So normally, if you're falling past an edge, you can use your reaction and you can try to grab it, and that's based on your reflex save. This allows you to use athletics. So for strength-based builds, this is huge. And when you do grab that edge, if you succeed, you can just pull yourself right up and stand up. That's a big deal. Again, certain situations are going to call for it. It's not going to come up every combat, but when it does, it could be game-changing for you. Not only keeping you alive, but bringing you right back into combat. If you are 5 feet below the top of something you're climbing, you can just pull yourself up and stand as well. That's another added bonus to rapid mantle. Slippery prey, level 2, trained in athletics or acrobatics. So I would have mentioned the acrobatics already. I've covered it there. Essentially, it acts as an agile trait for escape actions. So you don't take a huge penalty on escape actions like you normally would from map. Slightly better. Whew, we're up to level 7 now. Quick climb. Level 7, master in athletics now, and your successful climb adds 5 feet and crit adds an extra 10 feet. And if you're a legendary, you get a climb speed equal to your speed. So getting the added distance on successes and crit successes is certainly going to help you if you're climbing at all, because moving farther with every success is going to make a huge difference in you scaling walls. What you really care about if you're not getting it any other way is a climb speed equal to your normal ground speed at legendary. Now that's not to level 15, but at level 15, you can just scoot up anything like it was nothing. And that could be really incredible. Quick swim. Level 7, master in athletics. It's quick climb for swimming. Hooray. Wall jump. Level 7, master in athletics. If you end a jump next to a wall rather than having to fall, you can jump again pushing off that wall. You can only do that once per turn, but once you become legendary in athletics, you can use all your actions you want in a turn to keep doing it, as long as you have the actions to keep going. If you don't end up on top of a flat surface, you're still going to fall, but at least it gives you a better chance to get across places without needing to fly. Water sprint. Level 7, master in athletics. If you run in a straight line and at least half your movement on land, you can run on water for the rest of your movement. Legendary means you don't have to run in a straight line first, and you just have to start on solid ground. But if in either case, you can just start sprinting across water, which is not only fun from a flavor standpoint, but can be a lot faster than swimming. And our final level 15 legendary feat is cloud jump. You can long jump 3 times what you get from your roll. You can high jump equal to your long jump roll, which is crazy. You can spend additional actions to allow your jumps to go beyond your speed. So normally, let's say I rolled and my long jump would allow me to jump 35 feet, but I only have 30 feet of movement. Well, I can only go that 30 feet. Now, if I somehow, because it's triple, let's say I roll and I get enough to jump 90 feet and my speed is 30 feet, it'll take me all 3 actions, but I can just leap all the way that direction, just flying over things. And yeah, very cool way to get the most out of your jumps. So these feats do add a lot of possibilities in combat and a lot of possibilities in exploration. As far as social goes, what I was referring to earlier was maybe you'll just really impress somebody with your amazing jumping off of walls, and it can almost be like a performance, but nothing actually social built in here unless your GM wants to let you flex those athletic muscles there. With all the different movement options there that are in here, because you notice a lot of these are movement related, it really can boost up your ability to explore well, especially if you don't have a flying speed. As far as what classes get the most out of athletics, no surprise, it's going to be your strength-based martials first. So barbarians, champions, fighters, magus, monks, rangers, even ruffian rogues can get a lot out of athletics by boosting it up. And there's even plenty of half martials and casters with certain builds that can get value out of using strength for weapon attacks. So keep that in mind if you're trying to build into strength weapons. Maybe you're a thaumaturge that's normally a charisma build, or you're an alchemist that wants to get up close and use strength, or an inventor who's got a two-handed weapon. That's probably a good choice for them as well. One specific combat style that will find the most value out of athletics, though, is the wrestler. This is all about grappling. You really just need to have the highest possible athletics bonus and DCs and feats like Titan Wrestler and good use of all of those untrained actions we talked about earlier. So just kind of mastering all of that, making very specific choices with your feats, and the wrestling build can be amazing. Are you going to deal all the damage on the battlefield? No. Are you going to control it single-handedly? Very possibly. One thing that we do see in exploration is a lot of physical challenges. We've talked in the acrobatics about, sliding through cracks or crawling through things. But honestly, what we see a lot more of the time is moving things around to handle puzzles, or, leaping over areas, swimming underneath treacherous things. All of these type of athletic activities, these come up often. These are our challenge we see out in the wild. Usually you don't see them in a keep unless you're going to knock down a door. That definitely comes up. But out in the wild, we see a lot of these. So it can be a really powerful tool as you're out and about just in the world. While using combat, you are controlling enemies, you are knocking them prone, you are grappling them, repositioning them. All of these things very powerful. So in those two pillars of play, really consider athletics. It can be your best friend. Even if you don't have a huge strength score, just investing in athletics alone can be enough to make it a solid choice for you in and out of combat. And there we go. That is another skill down. I hope you found value in this video. I hope it helped you want to use athletics and make some choices for your own build. If you have suggestions, if there's anything I missed, throw it in the comments. And as always, adventure on.